Admit it, you're here because you were eyeballing a fancy new camera for your video production startup after your clients gave you a weird look for bringing a GoPro into a paid video shoot. But you scoffed at the C100 Mark II, even though it's within your budget. And that's exactly what this video is about. I'm just a guy who has owned Sony, Canon, and Panasonic cameras. I run my own social media video production studio, and I've shot with the Canon C100 for about 5 years now. So let me start off by saying that, yes, the Canon C100 Mark II is relevant in 2020. And while I do that, I'm going to show you some soothing footage shot from my C100 while I talk. Okay? Okay. Reason number 1. Beautiful colors. Blah, 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 Canon color science. You've heard Canon fanboys harp on and on about it, but it's true. Canon cameras shoot flattering, beautiful colors with excellent skin tones. If you do corporate videos, this is important because executives are paying you so they look good on camera. My old Sony FS5 and A6500 had muddy, grayish green skin tones that required a lot of color correction, but my C100 has amazing colors right out the camera, even when using the default color profile. This means faster turnaround times, and my clients look good. Reason number 2. The Canon C100 looks like a serious camera, and that's because it is. When it comes to professional and paid video projects, yes, size matters. If you walk into a video shoot with a tiny mirrorless camera like my old A6500, people think you're a photographer and that you're doing a photo shoot, not a video shoot. Fact. Big paying clients like to see big, fancy gear, and a happy client is a returning client. And don't even think about over-rigging your camera in a camera cage. That's a bad idea. It's silly. It looks silly. They don't even work that well. And they're really expensive. Why does a handle cost $100? What? Reason number 3. Small file sizes with excellent image quality. I shot this footage side by side on a GH5 and C100, and despite being optically similar, the GH5's file size was twice as large as my C100. They're both 1080p, and my C100 is 4K downscaled to 1080. Small file sizes mean faster workflow and, more importantly, easier storage. No more lacy after lacy after lacy drive. There is no advantage to bloated file sizes. 4th reason why the C100 is relevant in 2020, excellent low light performance. The C100 has a Super 35 sensor, so its sensor is smaller than a full-frame camera, but its low-light performance is incredible and nearly on par with the full-frame cameras that I've shot with before, like the Sony A7R and 5D Mark III. The C100 doesn't have that crazy night vision that the Sony A7S has. No one does, who are we kidding? But the C100 does have some crazy algorithm that adds a nice and natural-looking noise to your low-light footage. It's visually pleasing and acceptable even during the darkest conditions. Reason number 5. Dual SD card slots. Any self-respecting professional will back up their footage. Just imagine how your client would feel if you shot with a camera that only had one SD card slot and that one card got corrupted. That is a terrible client experience. Reason number 6. The C100 is easy for novice shooters to use. A lot of thought went into the button placement and menus with the C100. No dumb nested menus or weird hidden buttons on this camera. Unlike my FS5 and Sony mirrorless cameras, whose buttons and menus made me want to throw them at a wall. I've handed my C100 to people who haven't even used professional cameras before, and they can still get great footage. That's how user-friendly the C100 is. Reason number 7. The EF mount is a fantastic lens lineup. EF lenses have great image quality, outstanding build quality, and Canon's repair service is the best in the industry. I've dealt with all 3. Canon's lens repair service is the best. They're fast, they're reliable, they know what they're doing. There's also a lot of EF glass on the used market and a lot of lenses for you to choose from. EF line just kicks ass. And this is coming from a guy who has owned E-mount, Micro Four Thirds, and EF lenses. 8th reason why the C100 is relevant in 2020, fast, reliable autofocus. The C100 Mark II uses dual pixel autofocus. The D.P.A.F is about 95% as effective as Sony's autofocus systems, and that is good enough for most people. I tested the C100's autofocus speed on a recent documentary that I filmed with some very fast-running soccer players, and the C100's autofocus never missed a moment. Nailed it. Reason number 9. The C100 Mark II is built like a tank. I've shoved my C100 into a cramped backpack when I flew to New York City for a video shoot. It was kicked around by the TSA and crammed into an awful space. Despite that, my C100 emerged without a scratch, working right out the bag. Reason number 10. The Canon C100 Mark II has the best battery life. It's incredible. I've run very long live streams. I've taken this for all-day shooting sessions. It just doesn't quit. Arguments against the C100 Mark II.
It doesn't have 4K.
The C100 does have a 4K sensor that is downscaled to 1080p. So not only do you get beautiful, highly detailed footage without the 4K file bloat, but you can crop into your C100 Mark II's footage about 15 to 20% without any noticeable loss in image quality. Most videos are viewed in 1080p and on tiny 6-inch smartphone screens. If you find that you need 4K so you can fix your badly framed shots, try focusing more on improving your composition and stop using 4K sensors as a crutch for poor framing. It has no image stabilization! Cool, neither do 99% of the pro video cameras on the market. When Francis Ford Coppola shot Apocalypse Now, his Artflex didn't have in-body image stabilization. So if you want stable footage, put your camera on a tripod or monopod like the pros do. Problem solved. Lastly, it only has 8-bit color space. I have the GH5, which is 10-bit. I have the C100, which is 8-bit. I do a lot of color grading and a lot of color correction. And I've never found 10-bit color space to be any friendlier or any easier for color grading than my 8-bit footage. And I feel like the 8-bit versus 10-bit thing is out there to please the pixel peepers more than anyone else. Here's the way I look at it. The C100 is a good employee. It shows up to work on time, doesn't complain, doesn't overheat, and like a good employee, the C100 tells you what he's good at, with no surprises. I have put my C100 through hell, and I have never had an issue with it. It's a serious professional camera that will keep your clients happy, which means you'll keep making money. So is the C100 Mark II relevant in 2020? Yes. Now stop obsessing over spec sheets and arguing on internet forums about why 8K with 30-bit color space is mandatory. And if the C100 meets your needs today, go out and buy it. Bye!